Hello. Today we are going to be having a very serious discussion. This is a discussion I planned on having in a much bigger video after I had started receiving my therapy, but because it's being dragged out into the spotlight recently, I've decided to talk about it now. Now, I am aware that talking about it is exactly what the people who are harassing me wants me to do. I am going to talk about it because I want to, and I am going to try my hardest to not make any excuses and to try to not justify my actions because there is no justifying my actions. What I did was wrong, and there's nothing I can do to fix it. So, for those of you guys who have watched my channel for years now, you will know that I covered edgy content for years. I covered edgy content from, I want to say, 2018 to 2021. That time period may be a bit off, but that's how I remember it. And when you're hanging around with edgy crowds, you end up picking up edgy mannerisms. And that can be said for anybody who is a part of these communities, anybody who is a part of the culture. I covered people like Chris Chan, I covered people like Richard Kuda, I covered infamous people, and I hung around with even more infamous people who said and did a lot of terrible stuff. So, that ended up rubbing off on me, and I started to pick up the mannerisms and behaviors of other people. And because of that, I said words that I now disagree with. And as of recently being January, I was starting to do it a bit beforehand, but January is when I really started to remove these words from my vocabulary. And you're probably wondering by what words I mean. I know you know the main one, but let's start with some more. I have started to remove the F slur from my vocabulary. I started to lighten up on the R slur. That one's going to be really hard because I've been saying that one since I was a kid, but I am trying to lighten up on it. And majorly, I have completely avoided saying the N-word. Now, you guys are probably wondering why I've decided to change my language, why I've decided to do this. I am not doing this to virtue signal to people, and I'm not saying that people can't say these words. What I'm saying is that I've gotten at a point to where I no longer find it funny to say these words. I think it's try hard to say these words, and I no longer want to say these words. If I think something is really stupid, I'll call it stupid instead of the R word. If I think something is really lame, I'll come up with a different word than the F slur. There's no reason to say the N word at all. So let me explain to you guys why I have said the N word. And yes, I have said the N word before. I'm not going to deny it. It is something I have done. The one time I used it on Twitter was when someone brought it up to me and called me their N-word with an A at the end. So I said it back in return in a joking manner. I shouldn't have done it. It was wrong to do it, and I regret doing it. And the other times were two examples on YouTube. One time, I was in a call talking to a moderator who banned me from a server, and he told me that I had been banned because I said the N-word with a hard R in the server. And during that stream, I said the N-word with a hard R to tell him I did not say that in his server, and I had not called anyone in his server that. Now, I should have just said the N-word, and looking back on it, I regret saying the actual word. But I did say it, and no matter how much I apologize, no one's ever going to forgive it and no one's ever going to forget about it. It's the internet. Everybody who hates you will always dig up anything on you and will try to paint you as the worst version of yourself that you can be. So let me get to the other example of me using the N-word. The other example, and there's probably more examples of it, is just when people in the chat were telling me to say it, and then I would say it just to get them to stop telling me to say it. These guys in the chat, when you do this type of content, they are shock jocks themselves. They're people who want to get you in trouble, and they're people who are planning to get you in trouble later. So they'll get you to say something offensive, and then they'll clip it and pretend like you're racist or whatever to get you fired from whatever job you have, or try to cause pain to you later on, because these people are just that way. There's no stopping them. They're always going to do this type of shit, and they're doing this type of shit to me now. When I did read these words, I always specified that it's not a big deal. The word only has power if you give it power, and that I've never used it in a hateful manner. I now see that it doesn't matter if I use it in a hateful manner. People are so offended by the word that just acknowledging its existence as a word hurts people. Just acknowledging its existence as a word causes offense, even if you're not targeting that word at anybody in particular. And I want to say this now, for the N-word in particular, for the people who I may have offended by my usage of it, just know I never intended to offend you with it, and I only ever used it to try to point out how you shouldn't be afraid to use language. But I am sorry if I did offend anybody with my usage of that word. There was never a PewDiePie bridge moment with me. There was never a moment where I cracked down and called someone the N-word in anger, because I'm not that type of person, and I never will be that type of person. But I am deeply sorry for anybody who I offended with my usage of the word. So, I would say that you have to look at the context of things as they were. There was plenty of people trying to fight for this free speech language back then. This is when iDubbbz went to Tana Mongeau and hugged her and said, say the N-word. This is where people back then were actually saying this word in videos to point out how people shouldn't be afraid to say the word. Things were far less sensitive back then. Things were far more edgy back then. Everyone was younger, and everyone made terrible mistakes. I'm sure if you asked iDubbbz now, he would say that he regrets doing that type of stuff. I'm sure if you ask anybody in the commentary community or in whatever community who's moved on since then, they would say that they regret it. I'm not trying to hide that I said it. One of the clips are up on my archive channel, and the other clip will be up on my archive channel. I am mirroring the clips myself. I am not denying that I said it. It doesn't bother me that I have said it. The only thing I am saying is that I regret saying it, and I won't say it in the future. I do not try to appeal to these type of people, and I never will try to appeal to these type of people again. I want to do positive content. I want to aim for a more positive crowd, and I hope that the people who are offended by me using this word will forgive me for using this type of language, and just know going forward, I am trying to be a more positive person, and I'm trying to change myself. But I also need some leeway in needing people to know that even though I am changing, that won't change what I've done in the past. I can't rewrite history. I can't change the past. What has been done, and it will always be done. But hopefully you guys found this video informative. It's going to be kind of mirrored later on in a different video, so just know I'm going to go deeper into this discussion way later on when I'm in a better headspace. But yeah, I've said the word, I regret saying these type of words, and I'm not going to do it again. Bye, guys.